Hi, this is the third video on the segment all about computers. So this video I'd be speaking about RAM. What is RAM? Random access memory. Well, we all know that. And how much RAM do we need? It all depends upon what we actually want to do, what is the intended purpose, and all those things. Now, is there limitations for RAM? Yes. Based on my previous video, I would say yes, there is. On OS level, it is 32-bit and 64-bit OS as well as CPU architecture level. The exact term would be in architecture level. There is limitation that is 32-bit and 64-bit. And what are the other? If you ask, what are the other following factors which affect size of RAM? Number one is again the architecture. It limits where you can use 4 gigs or 4000 gigs. And next is build of your CPU, that is I series processor. In case of Intel, I series processor, in the terms of it, the generation, yes, previous generation, like third generation, up to third generation, there was a limitation that you can use only up to 16 gigs of RAM at top end, and following which it came to the later i7 processor that can simply rock up to 128 GB RAM without shredding a sweat. Yes, it can. Apart from this too, there is the make of your motherboard, like limitations of your motherboard. How much RAM can it take, and how many channels are being provided by the motherboard. So one channel, for example, supposedly a channel can take up to 16 gigs of RAM, and you cannot, and there are 4 channels provided, and you cannot go beyond 64 GB. There's a limitation for it. And the other is the classification of RAM. You might have heard about DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, and all. DDR means double data rate. That's a classification of RAM. And in terms of it, the latest one in which is in the market is DDR4, and upcoming one, yeah, we'll discuss about that later on. And speaking about, is having too much RAM good for me? Yes, too much RAM. Based on the question, like, what is too much for you and your purpose. If you are just a document writer, or you just keep writing document and you have nothing much to do, your 4 GB RAM is more than enough for you on a Windows 10 machine. Yes, I am well aware of the fact that Windows, that bloody OS itself, consumes 2.86 GB of RAM in an idle state. Yes, apart from that, if you're doing some web surfing, don't use Chrome just devours your RAM. If my term is right, it does that, and everyone know that. If you're using Brave browser or any other browser which is not based on Chromium, 4 GB RAM is like more than what you want. If you are doing some research purpose and you need to access multiple applications at the same time, go for 8 gigs. I would say at this term, at this year 2021, we should at least make this thing like 8 GB of RAM as standard. Literally standardized. It should be standardized. Every machine should need at least 8 gigs of RAM. And if you're a gamer, or maybe not high-end gamer, I would ask you minimum of 8 gigs of RAM, and 16 gigs of RAM is plenty for you. Great for you. You can, yeah, that's great. And speaking about high-end gaming, it is not about RAM but about VRAM in terms of GPU is what we need more. If your internet plan is to increase frame per second FPS, RAM alone doesn't make that happen. You need better GPU, better monitors, and all those things. Speaking about game front, and let's come back to our topic. If you are a high-end video editor or a photo editor, and you are using files, if in case of Photoshop's files, image files which are more than 1 gigs, yes, 32 gigs of RAM would be good for you, so that you don't lag in between. And speaking about video editing, if you're using Adobe Premiere Pro, or Wondershare, Filmora, and all those things, or high-end softwares, you would literally need a GPU and also RAM, which is about 64 gigs would be adequate for you while you're running 4K, 8K things. 64 gigs, it will bottleneck your performance. And coming back to our DDR concept, DDR2, DDR3, and DDR4. The main difference in that is the million transfer MTs that can carry on with one single RAM stick. In case of DDR3, it can go around 800 to 1600 million transfer per second. That is great. That was great during back those days, and it required 1.5 volt for individual RAM sticks to run. 1.5 volt for individual RAM sticks, and it would take around 800 to 1600 million transfers at ease. And next to that, it came DDR4. Yes, DDR4 can simply carry on around 1600 to 3200, like 1600 to 3200 million transfer per second, and it took around 1.2 volt. Yes, voltage compared to our DDR3, it is consuming less power efficient. Yes, and also can carry out a task at ease. Yes, it can. And the next one is DDR5, which is been on papers and at developing state, and manufacturers claim that it can simply skyrocket around 3200 or 3200 million transfers to 6400 or 6400 million transfer per second. That is highly, I would say, double the performance of DDR4, four times the performance of DDR3, and I don't know the number performance of DDR2. Also, DDR5 would be, as we all expect, costly, extremely expensive, and it can hold up to 32 GB per stick. Now the limitation is around 16 gigs. It can hold simply around 32 gigs per stick. Because if you have 4 stick and your board supports that, yeah, you can simply skyrocket up to 128 gigs at ease, just like that. And mostly you won't be needing that much because the processing power of individual RAM sticks are extremely high. For example, or in giving a statement, in DDR4 you need 32 gigs of RAM to run. I think math wouldn't be right if I say you only need around 16 gigs of DDR5, but something way less than 32 gigs would be great for you. And types of RAM and rest all those things I would be discussing in the next video. If you have any doubts or something like that, just post in the comment section. Mostly I would reply spontaneously, apart from the fact if I am sleeping or I'm lazy. Maybe see you around next video. Supposedly that word is wrong. I've been watching Friends too much. I shouldn't be doing that. Yes. So bye.